Pues estamos todos aquí justamente por la presentación de este libro, Tu corazón en la boca, escrito por la doctora Natasha Campbell McBride. Yo soy Ana de Azcárate, les doy las buenas tardes a todos, directora de la editorial Diente de León. En la editorial publicamos libros sobre ecología y salud y organizamos eventos de formación relacionados con nuestros libros, con nuestros autores y con nuestras temáticas. En nombre de todo el equipo de la editorial, muchísimas gracias a todos por estar acá. La verdad es que la respuesta ha sido muy impresionante. Más de 100 personas se han inscrito en la presentación online de Tu corazón en la boca, qué son las enfermedades cardiovasculares y qué podemos hacer para prevenirlas e incluso revertirlas. Y por la cantidad de personas que se han inscrito en todas partes del mundo, o sea, hay personas de Alemania, de Argentina, de los Países Bajos, de Perú, de Puerto Rico, de Uruguay, Estados Unidos, de Venezuela, por supuesto de España, Italia, El Salvador, o sea que increíble. Me encanta cuando somos tantos. La versatilidad del online es increíble, porque generalmente estas presentaciones las hacemos presenciales y bueno, tiene también otro modus operandi y es muy interesante porque tenemos la oportunidad de estar frente a frente con la autora, que eso siempre genera muchísima empatía. Yo estoy segura que la mayoría de vosotros conocéis a la doctora Natasha Campbell McBride, sobre todo por el primer libro que ella escribió, que se llama GAPS, el síndrome psicointestinal, que es donde ella habla del eje intestino-cerebro. Y la doctora es médico neuróloga, nutricionista y lleva muchísimos años investigando sobre la importancia de nuestra salud digestiva, de nuestro microbioma en nuestra salud en general. En Tu corazón en la boca van a aprender qué es el colesterol, por qué es tan importante para nuestra salud, por qué el colesterol bajo es más peligroso que el colesterol alto, el peligro de tomar medicamentos para bajar el colesterol, la importancia de las grasas saturadas, de la mantequilla, del sebo de vaca, de la manteca de cerdo, la importancia que ellos tienen para nuestra salud. Por supuesto, la arteriosclerosis, el síndrome metabólico y la inflamación y su relación con el corazón, y de lo que siempre habla la doctora, de los alimentos, de la dieta, ¿no? ¿Qué alimentos son beneficiosos? ¿Qué debemos evitar? Y hábitos y muchísimas cosas más. Estoy segura que, bueno, que este libro les va a servir muchísimo, que les va a aportar muchísima información. Y sin quitarles más tiempo, los voy a dejar con la doctora Natasha Campbell McBride. Thank you, Natasha, for being here, que nos va a hablar del libro. Esperamos que, bueno, que esta presentación sea muy motivadora, que los que quieran comprar el libro en España ya lo podéis conseguir en librerías y si no en nuestra web. Y si están fuera de España, podéis revisar el apartado de distribuidores en nuestra web, que ahí ponemos en distribuidores en México, en Chile y en algunas otras partes de Latinoamérica. O nos podéis contactar a info@editorialdientedeleon.com. Síganos en Instagram, ver nuestra web para que podáis ver los talleres y los libros que tenemos. Y no me quiero despedir sin antes decirles que en octubre de este año vamos a publicar el último libro que ha escrito la doctora Natasha Campbell McBride, que es el libro de GAPS y el síndrome fisiointestinal. Que este libro tiene más que ver con las enfermedades crónicas, con las enfermedades autoinmunes y a la misma vez hace como una revisión de las distintas dietas GAPS y cómo aplicarlas. Y luego tiene al final como un apartado de A a la Z donde habla de las distintas de estas enfermedades crónicas y cómo podemos evitarlas e incluso tratarlas. Thank you, Natasha. Gracias a todo el equipo de Diente de León que está hoy acompañándonos y nos está apoyando en esta presentación y a todos vosotros y vosotras por estar aquí. Thank you, Natasha. So we are now activating the translation.
That's good. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for inviting me. And I'm delighted that another book has been translated into Spanish. Okay, I'm going to share my slides. Okay, we live in a world of nutritional misinformation. And the biggest misinformation that generations of people have been exposed to is that fat and cholesterol cause heart disease. So let's talk about this. First of all, where did this idea come from? Humanity have been eating fats and cholesterol for a very long time. Now, why is this not? There we are. For a very, very long time, for millions of years, we've been eating fats and cholesterol. And in all traditional societies, people prized fatty bits of meat, and they prized the jamon, and they prized the, in Italian, lardo, and other, high-fat foods. And nobody had this idea. So this comes from a hypothesis called the diet heart hypothesis, which was proposed in 1953. It was proposed, of course, in America. And at the time, the heart disease was becoming a problem in that country, and the government in America wanted to offer people some explanation. So when somebody has come up with some kind of idea, they grabbed it and they ran with it, and money started pouring in. No other idea has been researched so much. No other idea had so much money spent on it. And the more the researchers all over the world have been trying to prove that fat and cholesterol cause heart disease, the more they were proving the opposite, that they have nothing to do with it. Problem is, while the scientists have been working on this, very powerful and very wealthy industries have grown up on it. Pharmaceutical industry is making billions on this idea. Food industry is making billions. Western governments are making billions on this idea. Western medicine is making billions. And of course, these powerful political and commercial organizations do not allow this idea to die. The more the science is telling us that fat and cholesterol do not cause heart disease, in fact, they reverse it and prevent it, the stronger the propaganda becomes coming from these powerful organizations. So the hypothesis has been proven completely and utterly wrong. So let's talk more about this. What did the science actually show? It demonstrated that cholesterol, dietary cholesterol, animal fats have nothing to do with heart disease. Exactly the same numbers of people with normal cholesterol have heart attacks and other problems with heart as people with high levels of cholesterol and people with low levels of cholesterol. Low blood cholesterol is dangerous. This is a conclusive fact from all sorts of scientists from all over the world, from very thorough research. As I say, this hypothesis is almost 100 years old now, and it has been very, very thoroughly researched. We don't need any more research. It has proven that people who eat the most fat and cholesterol live the longest and the healthiest lives. We find that people who, elderly people, the more fat and the more cholesterol they eat in traditional societies, the longer people live and the healthier they are. High blood cholesterol does not cause heart disease or atherosclerosis. That's high blood cholesterol. People who eat the most and people with higher cholesterol live the longest and the happiest lives. Okay, so let's have a look in more details at this. What happens to people with low levels of cholesterol? And there are people like that in the world. Cholesterol is such an important molecule in the human body. No organ, no cell in the human body can live without cholesterol. Constant supply of it. It is so important for us that the body has its own little factory producing cholesterol all the time. Every cell in your body produces cholesterol, but the biggest factory is in the liver. It manufactures cholesterol, and it can make it out of carbohydrates, out of your bread, out of sugar that you eat, out of other carbohydrates. It can manufacture cholesterol. Problem is, in many people, that factory is not working very well. And I'll explain to you later why. So they have low levels of cholesterol. So let's see what happens to people who have low levels of cholesterol. they have increased heart attacks and strokes. It is associated with cancer. In fact, it has been shown that minimum 8 years prior to developing cancer and being diagnosed with cancer, people who have this situation usually show low levels of blood cholesterol, because cholesterol is essential for the structure of your body and for the functions of your body. It is associated with violence, aggression, and suicide, because the brain cannot live without cholesterol. About 40% of the structure of your brain, physical structure of your brain, is cholesterol. Myelin is a very important molecule in the brain and the rest of the nervous system. It coats every nerve fiber and it surrounds every brain cell and nervous cell. This substance is very high, has a very, very high level of cholesterol in it. It's made out of cholesterol. So the brain is made out of cholesterol to a large degree, and it requires large amounts of cholesterol to function. So about 50% of all cholesterol that's in your blood sponged up by the brain. The brain literally swallows it up and uses it. So when a person doesn't produce enough cholesterol, when the liver doesn't work very well, and you have low levels of cholesterol in your blood, then the brain is starving. When the brain starves, it gives us symptoms. And that can be violence, it can be aggression, it can be suicide, and can be other problems, mental illnesses. It is associated with Parkinson's disease to such a degree that 15 years ago, the major researcher in Parkinson's disease has predicted that we're going to have a great increase in statistics of this disease. A lot of people are going to get it because of the drugs called statins, which were heavily promoted in the world and prescribed practically to every adult in the Western world. These are the drugs that break that factory in your liver that manufactures cholesterol. So the liver cannot manufacture it. And as a result, your blood level of cholesterol goes down. And as a result, you become prone to cancer and to brain abnormalities and to all sorts of other problems. So let's see what else happens to people who have low levels of cholesterol. You start losing your memory. Before statins were invented, we didn't have a disease called Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease is entirely iatrogenic. Iatrogenic means caused by doctors, caused by the mainstream medicine. The more statins people are taking, the more Alzheimer's disease becoming an epidemic. It is caused by these drugs because the brain cannot live without cholesterol. As soon as people start taking statins, the brain starts starving. It literally starts losing its physical structure. It starts melting down. It starts shrinking down, and people develop memory problems. Our immune system cannot live without cholesterol because the immune cells are made out of cholesterol to a large degree, and they use cholesterol for their functions, just like the brain does. So whenever we have an infection or toxicity in the body and the immune system is very active dealing with these situations, it requires large amounts of cholesterol and animal fats, saturated fats in particular. So the immune system, when it's got a challenge like that, it will send a signal to your liver. I need cholesterol. I need fat. Manufacture it and send it to me. But if a person is taking statins, that machine in the liver is broken. The liver cannot manufacture cholesterol and cannot manufacture saturated fats. So the immune system doesn't get the help that it requires. And as a result, it collapses and the person is unable to deal with infections. A good example of that are the hospital infections, which is becoming more and more problematic in our big hospitals in the Western world. The reason for it is that vast majority of adults, practically every adult older than 40 years of age, is put on statins as soon as they arrive into the hospital, regardless of what their blood cholesterol is. It's a policy in every hospital. So by taking statins, they suppress the immune system in this person, and the person starts getting infections. That is why hospital infections are becoming so ubiquitous. We get problems with learning, and it is highly associated in children and adults with learning disabilities and mental illnesses. Again, because the brain is starving and it is unable to function properly. In order to memorize anything, in order to connect things together and to learn, the brain needs to be able to make connections between brain cells. It needs to be able to grow new protrusions, new axons, long arms, and which the cells kind of grow arms, and these arms join each other with places called synapses. And by making these synapses and making these connections, we learn, we're able to learn, and we're able to have critical thinking, and we're able to remember things. But if the brain is starving, it's unable to grow these axons, and it's unable to form these synapses, because about 80% of the synapse, the dry weight of the synapse, is cholesterol. They're made out of cholesterol to a large degree. So the brain cannot form them if the brain is deficient in cholesterol. It is associated with early death because nothing in the body can work without large amounts of cholesterol and saturated fats. So what does the cholesterol do in the human body? What are its functions? It is a vital part of every cell membrane. Every cell in the body has a wall, which is a membrane. Inside it, it has organelles, every one of which also has a membrane. And then different compartments in the cells are divided from each other with these membranes. And then the communications are also membranes. So practically it's been estimated in histology that between 40% to 80% of different cells in the body are membranes by weight. What are these membranes made from? They're made out of saturated fat and cholesterol. They're bilipid membranes. They're made out of fat. And cholesterol and saturated fats are very, very important in there, and they form practically 50% of those membranes. So cholesterol and saturated fats are structural for the human body. They're not optional for us. All our steroid hormones are made out of cholesterol in the body. What are steroid hormones? These are hormones produced by our adrenals, which allow us to handle stress and pressure in life. So if your blood level of cholesterol is low, if your liver is unable to manufacture cholesterol for you, then your adrenals cannot produce stress hormones, and you cannot handle pressure or stress in life. People like that have nervous breakdowns and just cannot handle any pressure and cannot cope with stress. Another group of hormones which are made out of cholesterol are sex hormones in men and women. And people who are unable to manufacture enough cholesterol and send them to those sex glands have low levels of production of these hormones. Their libido is low. They have infertility. Low blood level of cholesterol is a major cause of infertility epidemic in the world. Because in order to have children, we need sex hormones. And we need normal levels of sex hormones. Myelin, I have mentioned that substance in the brain and in the rest of the nervous system. It coats every axon, it coats every nerve fiber, and it's a major part of our nervous tissue. And most of it is cholesterol and saturated fats. Without these molecules, the nervous system cannot function. They're structural and they're necessary for functions as well. It is essential for memory and for learning. Vitamin D is made in the skin when we sunbathe. I'm sure majority of people know about this, that vitamin D is a sunshine vitamin. What is it made from? From cholesterol. So when we are sunbathing, our liver is working very hard. It manufactures cholesterol, it sends it to your skin, and the sunshine in the skin turns it into vitamin D. If you have low levels of cholesterol, you cannot manufacture vitamin D. Without vitamin D, nothing works in the body. It is a hormone in its right, and it's one of the most essential molecules that is involved in hundreds, possibly thousands of various functions in the human body. Absolutely essential. It is fundamental for our immune system. We've talked about it. And our biliary, our bile that is produced in the liver is very rich in cholesterol. The bile comes out of the liver, allows us to digest fats, absorb cholesterol from food, and saturated fats and fat-soluble vitamins from food. But then as the food with the bile travels down all the way to ileum, in ileum, all that cholesterol from the bile is reabsorbed and returned back to the liver by portal veins. So the body very carefully recycles cholesterol. It doesn't want to lose it. Just this function of the body recycling cholesterol and not allowing any cholesterol to be lost should have given us a good clue how important cholesterol is in the human body. So people with high cholesterol live longer. That is a scientific fact. Epidemiology researched these facts for a long, long time now, since 1952, all over the world, in every country. This is a conclusive fact that people with high cholesterol live longer, and all the people need more cholesterol. The higher the cholesterol in the elderly person, the stronger they are, the less chances they have of Alzheimer's disease or any other disease. The healthiest elderly people have been researched from all over the world, in South America, in Japan, in Caucasus Mountains, and other places. They eat eggs and liver for breakfast. And they eat high-fat foods. They have high-fat meats and high-fat fish and other animal fats. That is why they live long, and that is why they feel well and they're healthy, these people. And the research in this subject is so conclusive that specialists and experts on this subject, on the elderly, are raising a question. Perhaps we need to find ways of raising blood cholesterol in our elderly people to prevent Alzheimer's disease and to prevent other problems that our elderly population is suffering from. So which foods are rich in cholesterol? Let's have a look. The richest are the brains of animals. And in every culture, there are dishes where people eat brains of animals. There is a salad with lamb's brain in the Middle East. There are some brain dishes in Spain, as I understand it. There are some brain dishes in Latin America and in other places. And if we think about it, the structure of animal's brain is very similar to the structure of human brain. Human brain is just as rich in cholesterol as the animal brains. That is why when we eat animal brains, we provide ourselves with the highest amounts of cholesterol. The second highest is the eggs of fish eggs, caviar. These are babies of the fish. The next one are fresh egg yolks, cod liver oil. These are the livers of the fish. Next ones are egg yolks. The next ones is butter. Cold water fish and mollusks are quite rich in cholesterol. And it is funny that doctors who are illiterate in this subject and don't know this slide and don't know which foods are rich in cholesterol, very often tell their patients, stop eating meat. It's full of cholesterol. Eat fish instead. Well, fish is much richer in cholesterol than meat. So the fat from meat is at the end of this list, and it has almost 100 times less cholesterol per gram than the fats from the fish. So these are other facts, very important facts that our scientists have discovered, that only about 15% of all the cholesterol that's floating in your blood comes from food. Food is really a very insignificant source of cholesterol. and saturated fats for us. Majority of all cholesterol and saturated fats that are floating in your blood and that the doctors find on their tests in the blood come from your liver, come from that factory in your liver manufacturing these molecules. And your liver is in contact with the rest of your body. Whatever's going on in the body, whether you have an infection and your immune system is active, the immune system will send a signal to your liver and ask for cholesterol, ask for saturated fats. So the liver will switch on that machine and start manufacturing cholesterol, manufacturing saturated fats, packaging them appropriately, and sending them to the place of infection, to the place where the immune system is fighting with microbes or with toxins or something else. If it is your brain that requires more cholesterol, more animal fats, saturated fats, then the liver will send it to the brain. If you're sexually active and you're trying to conceive a child, you need sex hormones, then the liver will send it to your sex organs to manufacture sex hormones. Every organ, every tissue in the body requires cholesterol and requires animal fats. And one of the major functions of the body is to heal itself and maintain its physical structure. We live in a world where lots of things damage us all the time. Pollution, electromagnetic pollution, chemicals in the environment, stress, they damage our tissues, they damage our organs all the time. So healing has to happen. The body has to heal itself, heal all these damaged tissues. And in order to heal any tissue, cells have to be built. And remember, every cell has lots and lots of membranes. And those membranes are made out of cholesterol and saturated fats. So the liver has to work very hard, manufacture these molecules, package them appropriately to put them into the blood, because cholesterol and saturated fats are fat soluble. The blood is water-based. You cannot transport fats through water-based blood without proper packaging. So these molecules, cholesterol and saturated fats, get packaged into low-density lipoproteins, which deliver them from the liver to the place where they are needed. When the cholesterol and fats are used in there, many of them get damaged in some way. Then another shuttle called HDL, high-density lipoprotein, picks up those damaged molecules of cholesterol and animal fats and brings them back to the liver for recycling, where the liver recycles them. And these are the molecules, these are the shuttles that your doctor will be testing for you. If you go to the doctor and they say, we want to check your cholesterol and your lipids in your blood, that's what they will be checking. Low-density lipoproteins, LDLs, and HDLs. And because LDLs take cholesterol from the liver to the place in the body where these molecules are needed, our medicine decided that those are bad cholesterol. And HDL, because it takes damaged cholesterol and damaged lipids back to the liver for recycling, our medicine decided is good cholesterol, because it takes the cholesterol away from the organs back to the liver. It's the same as decide that an ambulance that goes from the base to the patient is the good ambulance, and the ambulance which comes back to the station from the patient is the good ambulance. That's how confused our sciences are, and that's how confused our mainstream medicine is. And recently, our scientists have discovered that actually majority of the bad cholesterol is not so bad. It's actually very good for us. So now that part of LDL is called the good bad cholesterol. But the other part, the rest of it, is called the bad cholesterol. So we'll watch that development, and I'm sure that soon, very soon, our scientists finally will catch up with us and realize that there is no bad cholesterol. There is no good cholesterol. These are just shuttles in the blood which shuttle molecules of cholesterol from one place to another. And that's how it is supposed to be. It is impossible to change your blood cholesterol by changing your diet. If you eat no cholesterol at all, Your liver will just have to work harder to produce more. If you eat more cholesterol, if you have eggs and bacon for breakfast, if you eat plenty of your beautiful Spanish jamon, then you give your liver a bit of help. So it doesn't have to work so much, doesn't have to work so hard. The only way to permanently reduce your blood cholesterol is by taking drugs called statins, which I've already mentioned, because these drugs break that factory in your liver. So your liver is not able to produce cholesterol for you anymore, not able to produce lipids for you anymore, saturated fats, such essential, wonderful molecules that human body cannot live without. And as a result, your blood cholesterol goes low. It goes down, and you start suffering. The major side effects of statins are quite grievous. Let's have a look at them. So what are the side effects of statins? They reduce the production of this special coenzyme Q10. Without this coenzyme, the heart cannot work, the heart rhythm goes bad, you get atrial fibrillation, your lungs cannot work, your brain cannot work, many tissues cannot work in the body. And when you start taking statins, the body is unable to produce this coenzyme. So a lot of symptoms appear. Your muscles get broken down. These drugs break down the structure of your muscles. Then the debris from these muscles, these broken down bits and pieces of the muscle, block up your filters in the body. They block up your kidneys and cause kidney disease and kidney failure. These are major side effects of statins. Liver damage, another filter. Kidneys and liver are filters. They filter everything inappropriate from your blood, so they get blocked up by this broken down muscle mass. Many people who start taking statins start getting painful muscles. Their heart starts struggling. They get abnormalities in the heart rhythm, and they start getting kidney problems and liver problems. They get polyneuropathy because nervous system is made out of cholesterol and saturated fats to a very large degree. They simply start dissolving, start getting damaged, and they cannot repair themselves because there are no building materials delivered to them for repair. So you get polyneuropathy. Parkinson's disease is a major side effect of statins. Alzheimer's disease is a iatrogenic disease caused by statins. Period. There was no Alzheimer's disease before these drugs have been invented. Depression and all sorts of other mental illnesses that the brain, any symptom that the brain can produce because the brain is starving. Malformations were found in fetuses when these drugs were tested on pregnant women. These malformations were worse than from thalidomide. If any of you remember the drug called thalidomide, which was prescribed to pregnant women a few decades ago, and they caused tremendous, absolutely appalling fetal malformations, our statins are even worse. And cancer. Cancer is a major side effect of statins. Okay, so we talked about cholesterol. Now let's talk about more about the saturated fats. Saturated fats get a lot of bad rap in our mainstream. For decades, our governments, our medicine, our mainstream nutrition, food industry, pharmaceutical industry, all our authorities were telling us that saturated fat is bad, that we must stop eating it, that you have to cut off all the fat from your meat, and that you must not eat butter, and you must not eat eggs, and you must not eat skin on the chicken. And just avoid the fat. The fat causes every disease in the world, and that saturated fats are the worst. Where all this propaganda is coming from? It comes from the same authorities that push the propaganda on cholesterol. So, the truth is the opposite. In fact, for a long time now, I'm telling everybody, my patients and people who listen to me, that in the mainstream, in our modern world, if you want to know the truth, you have to take what they tell you upside down, turn it upside down, and then you will see the truth. So without saturated fats, we cannot live. It is a preferred source of energy for your heart. For those of you who have seen the heart of an animal, the heart of an animal and the human being sits in a thick chamber of fat. And that fat is very hard. It's almost fully saturated. When you cut that fat or you try to cook with it, it's a hard fat. It's a saturated fat. Because why is the heart sitting in that chamber, thick chamber of fat? Because that is energy source. Your heart never stops working. It works all of your life. It needs energy all the time. And it works almost exclusively on the fat that comes from that chamber that it sits in, from saturated fat. They lower a substance called LPA, which is quite damaging, and this substance starts appearing in the blood when people are deficient in cholesterol, coenzyme Q10, and in saturated fats. And that LPA is a major cause of heart disease and cancer and various other problems. It reduces accumulation of calcium in blood vessels. Do you know that atherosclerosis and blockages in your blood vessels, you know that cardiologists now do a lot of operations when they put stents into people's coronary arteries, when they have angina, when they have pain in their heart, when the blood vessels get blocked to a certain degree. So the surgeons clear those blood vessels and put stents there to restore the blood flow. So the question is, what blocks those arteries? They're blocked by accumulation of calcium. The major problem with all of that is calcium, not cholesterol. The mainstream will tell you, and the children, even children at school are being told, and at a very young age, that cholesterol and fat gets stuck in your arteries and block them up, and as a result, nothing works in the body, and you get heart attacks, and you get strokes, and you get other problems. It's not cholesterol and fat, it's calcium, salts of calcium. That is an absolute scientific fact, but this fact is being hidden because otherwise nobody will be taking statins. And statins are a major profit maker for the pharmaceutical industry. In fact, #1 profit maker, has been #1 for decades. So why is calcium accumulating in the arteries in people? Why is it getting stuck there? Because people are deficient in fat-soluble vitamins, particularly vitamin D and vitamin K2, menaquinone. These vitamins only come from high-fat foods, and K2 in particular comes from fermented high-fat foods. In Asia, it comes from natto, fermented soybeans, and other fermented foods, miso, and other soy foods which are fermented. But in the Western world, the major sources of this vitamin are high-fat cheese, butter, and fermented dairy, sour cream, and other high-fat fermented products. Since not many people eat it and they avoid these sort of things, many people in the world are deficient in K2, and as a result, calcium in the body doesn't go into your bones and your teeth without these vitamins. Without vitamin D, vitamin K2, and vitamin A, calcium in your body does not go into bones and teeth where it belongs. So you develop tooth decay and you develop osteoporosis, while calcium settles in your blood vessels and in other soft tissues in the body because of nutritional deficiencies. So the low-fat diet causes atherosclerosis, not high-fat diet. It is essential for all tissue repair in the body. Just like cholesterol, membranes are made out of saturated fats and cholesterol. So both are absolutely essential to build membranes in your body. And remember again, between 40% to 80% of every cell in your body are membranes. When we repair our tissues, new cells have to be created. Baby cells are born. They have to be made from something. Membranes need to be made. Building materials are required. And major part of those building materials are cholesterol and saturated fats. They're essential for the membranes, and they're essential for the body to be able to utilize omega-3 and omega-6 fats. Those fats are promoted very heavily in the mainstream, and the base sales of vegetable oils based on this omega-3 and omega-6. Vegetable oils are completely unnecessary for human beings, and in fact, they're a major damaging factor in our diet. And without saturated fat, without animal fats, your body can't even utilize those omega-3 and omega-6 fats. It is essential for your immune system to function, just like cholesterol. And as it happens at the end, it is essential for the brain, for the structure of the brain and the function of the brain. So, the mainstream will tell you that animal fats are all saturated. So stop eating animal fats, stop eating pork, stop eating beef, stop eating lamb. Eat our synthetic meat instead, right? Which are already in supermarkets. Well, the reality is that animal fats are not all saturated. They're actually very balanced. If you look at pork fat, 45% of it is monounsaturated, 11% polyunsaturated, and 44% is saturated. So strictly speaking, pork fat is monounsaturated. It cannot be even called a saturated fat. Look at the structure of lamb fat. 58% saturated, 38% monounsaturated, and 2% polyunsaturated. Look at the structure of beef fat. 49% saturated, less than 50, and 47% monounsaturated. If you look at butter, and let's look at the breast milk of the human breast milk. This is the best food for our human babies, and that is the perfect composition of fats we need to receive. 48% of it is saturated, 33% monounsaturated, and 16% polyunsaturated. So this is the perfect proportions for a human being, for all our tissues and for all our organs in the body. And all of these fats that I've listed here are similar, they're close. So if we eat a balanced food, balanced meals, where all of these fats are present, then we receive the right proportions of all the fats for our bodies to function well. So let's talk about the vegetable oils, which are a major multi-billion industry, producing vegetable oils and selling them, making them out of soy, corn, rapeseed, and all sorts of other plants. And it is the industry that was producing these vegetable oils that paid for that diet hut hypothesis to be created in the first place, to malign the animal fats and cholesterol. It is vigorously promoted as heart-healthy. Vegetable oils have been for decades now, and they have replaced animal fats in the kitchens in the whole world. For thousands of years, every cook in every kitchen, in every traditional society, used to cook on animal fats, on pork fat, on lamb fat, on beef fat, on butter. And in the last few decades, because of diet hut hypothesis, they have replaced animal fats with vegetable oils. People all over the world, mothers, grandmothers, cooks in restaurants, takeaways, are all cooking now on vegetable oils. And there is a big, big problem with that, because they are full of chemically mutilated, damaged fats. Some of them are called trans fats, others have other names, because plants contain high levels of polyunsaturated fatty acids. These are very fragile fats. They're easily damaged by light, oxygen, pressure, and heat. And what do they do in those big factories where they make the vegetable oils? They bring the corn, the soy, the rapeseed, and other plant matter there, and they subject them to high temperatures, to chemicals, to pressure, to solvents, to all sorts of things. So by the time the oil is extracted and put into bottles, those polyunsaturated fatty acids have been chemically damaged and mutilated. They are extremely harmful because they replace the natural real oils and fats in your body, in your tissues and cells, and make cells disabled on the most fundamental basis. Nobody should be eating these oils. They are one of the most harmful things people can put into their mouth. And unfortunately, all our processed foods are full of them. Every restaurant cooks on them. Every takeaway is cooking on them. Our snacks are full of them. And people consume large amounts of these fats every day in the world. They cause cancer, diabetes, neurological diseases, immune system abnormalities. They cause atherosclerosis, and they cause the cardiovascular disease. They cause infertility. They cause, now what is that? They interfere with pregnancy. They are dangerous for the baby, for the fetus and for the baby, and they accelerate aging. These are just a few problems that I have listed here. Vegetable oils have been researched for a long time now, since 1930s, and we have plenty of research, conclusive research, to show that they are poisonous. Nobody should be eating them. Nobody should keep cooking on them. If you have a bottle of vegetable oil in your house, throw it away immediately and replace it with pork fat, lamb fat, beef fat, butter, and clarified butter. These are the oils and fats that we should be cooking on. The only plant oils which are suitable for cooking, that is coconut oil and palm oil, natural palm oil, that is made in a traditional way. So let's talk about the heart disease. Heart disease is caused by atherosclerosis. What is atherosclerosis? If you ask anybody in the public, and even if you ask a medical doctor, their answer immediately will be, it's a lump of fat and cholesterol stuck in your artery, blocking your artery. And as a result, the blood doesn't flow very well through it, and it causes heart disease, and it causes strokes, and it causes other problems in the body. That is the brainwashing that our medical industry has been subjected to, all our medics and the general public. The reality is very different. The reality is that it is an inflammatory condition. It's inflammation. So what happens? Our circulatory system, all our arteries, veins, and the heart on the inside are lined by a layer of cells called endothelium. If anything toxic gets into your body, it attacks that layer. It causes an injury in the endothelium. In order to heal any injury in the body, the first thing that happens in the body is inflammation. The immune system is everywhere in the body, and as soon as there is any injury, inflammation will come in, and it will destroy the toxin that caused the injury, or destroy the microbe, the infection that might have caused the injury, and then it will step back and allow its partner a second process called repair to heal the damage. So inflammation and repair always work together, and they heal any damage in the body. And they work very well, and this process works very, very well. What happens in atherosclerosis? Inflammation becomes hyperactive in atherosclerosis. It does the job, it kills the microbe, it removes the toxin, but then it doesn't stop. It's supposed to stop and remove itself and allow the repair to build new cells, new tissues, and heal the damage. But inflammation doesn't step away. As the repair joins in and tries to build new cells and tries to heal the damage and repair that wound, Inflammation tears all that apart. It does not allow the repair to repair the wound. A battle forms between inflammation and repair. They start fighting each other. They battle each other. And any battle is full of dead bodies, dead machines, broken machinery and weapons, and it all piles up and piles up and piles up. And that's what happens in that little wound in the endothelium. If inflammation doesn't stop and starts fighting with repair, a pile of rubbish builds up in your endothelium, a big pile of rubbish, and it's called the atherosclerotic plaque. This atherosclerotic plaque goes through 3 stages, type 1, type 2, and type 3. And type 3 is the worst, when the pile is a great big one, and it causes about 76% of all the heart attacks and other disasters in the body. Let's have a look at this pile of rubbish called the atherosclerotic plaque. This is its composition. About 68% of that is fibrous repair tissue, largely collagen. Because when any repair process begins in your body, if you scratched yourself, if you cut yourself, if you've got a wound on your skin, the body creates a mesh, like a bandage, over that wound, made out of collagen, made out of this fibrotic tissue. And that's what happens inside your arteries when atherosclerotic plaque forms. 68% of it is collagen. About 80% is calcium that settles in there from the blood. The inflammatory cells are there, of course, because inflammation is active. And other cells are there. And only 16% of that rubbish pile is cholesterol and fat. And why are they there? Because repair uses cholesterol and fatty acids to build new cells and build new tissues to repair the wound. Remember, no repair in the body can happen without involvement of cholesterol and saturated fats. That is why they're there, and they constitute only 16% of the whole pile of rubbish called atherosclerotic plaque. And 74% of those 16% of those fats are unsaturated. They do not come from lamb fat or beef fat or butter. They come from vegetable oils. Majority of them are omega-6, coming from your cooking oils that you're cooking with and that you're eating in restaurants and that you're eating in all your snacks and processed foods and everything else. So the cholesterol in the plaque and saturated fats in the plaque are chemically damaged, because when the liver manufactures them and sends them to the place of damage to repair the damage, they arrive there, but the inflammation is active. And inflammation uses bullets and cannons and other weaponry called free radicals. These are reactive oxygen species, there are reactive molecules of oxygen, which immediately damage cholesterol and damage fats. And once they're damaged, the body cannot use them for repair anymore. They just get dumped in the atherosclerotic plaque, in that pile of rubbish. So let's have a look at this pile of rubbish. That's how it looks. If you look at this picture, at the top you see a triangular white shape. That's what's left of this space inside the artery where the blood flows. The whole lower part of the artery, of the plaque, and I'll use I'll scroll it. So this is where the blood flows. You see, in this space, that's what's left. So the lumen of the artery is quite small, quite narrow for the blood to flow. This is the plaque. This ugly, big area at the bottom. It's a rubbish pile. Because inflammation hasn't gone away, it keeps tearing everything the repair tries to create in there, to repair the damage. So what are the cholesterol and fats are doing in there? I've explained it already, so we'll go through these slides quickly. They are the healing agents in the body. No healing in the body can happen without involvement of cholesterol and saturated fats. And they are necessary not just for the repair, they're necessary for the inflammation as well, because the immune system requires these molecules to function. LDL, as I mentioned, is the low-density lipoprotein. It's the shuttle which carries cholesterol from the liver to the artery to repair it. HDL carries the damaged cholesterol back to the liver to be recycled, so-called good cholesterol. There are lots of reactive oxygen molecules in the place of inflammation because inflammation uses them as bullets, uses them as weapons, and they damage cholesterol and they damage fats. So they cannot be used by the body to repair them. Normally, every tissue, every cell manufactures antioxidants, vitamin E, vitamin C, lipoic acid, and other antioxidants to stop those oxygen molecules from damaging the repair molecules, the cholesterol and the fats. But in a place of atherosclerotic plaque, there aren't enough of them. They don't function very well. So these chemically damaged cholesterol and fats get deposited in the plaque as rubbish because they cannot be used. They're damaged. They're not clean, pristine, good molecules of cholesterol or good molecules of fat. They are damaged. They are dumped as rubbish. That is why they're there. So the question is, why inflammation doesn't stop? Why, when we injure our endothelium, inflammation doesn't clean the place and doesn't go away, allowing the repair to do its job? Why doesn't it stop? The answer is very simple. It doesn't stop because people are eating processed carbohydrates. They start their morning with a toast or a bread or croissant or biscuits, sugar, sugar, sugar. Bread is sugar. These are all carbohydrates. These are all sugars. What do, these sugars? They cause a condition called metabolic syndrome. All of these carbohydrates, processed carbohydrates, they overload the body with glucose. A piece of bread that you eat contains between 10 to 15 teaspoons of sugar. When they digest it, and they digest very fast, they absorb as molecules of glucose. The body uses glucose for many functions. One of them is energy, but the body has a limited ability to use glucose for energy or for other functions. It can only take so much. When we eat processed carbohydrates and anything made out of flour, sugar, potato starch, and other processed plants, starch in particular, are processed carbohydrates. They are pre-digested in the factory for you. So your digestive system doesn't have a lot of work to do to digest them. They absorb very quickly. They're already digested. And they dump enormous amount of glucose into your bloodstream. What does the body do in response? It produces insulin. It's a hormone produced by your pancreas to deal with that overload of glucose. And because people eat carbohydrates all day long, every day, from childhood, in the majority of the world, people overload on glucose. Many people have overproduction of insulin. They have far too much insulin in their blood all the time. Insulin is high. If you want to know what your risk of heart disease is truly, don't ask your doctor to test your cholesterol in your blood. Tell them no, thank you. Ask them to test your insulin in the blood. And they will be resistant. And the tests for insulin are unusual and might be expensive because they don't want you to know that. They don't want you to know the real truth. If your insulin level in your blood is high, then you're running a risk of developing heart disease. Because as long as your insulin level is high, your body will be in a pro-inflammatory state. Inflammation will be initiated and it cannot stop. Insulin will not allow it to stop. Insulin is a pro-inflammatory hormone. Having high levels of insulin in your blood is the most dangerous thing anybody can have. So that is the test you want your doctor to do for you. Perpetual inflammation is the cause of atherosclerosis and heart disease. Not eggs and butter, not bacon, not hamon, not lamb fat, not beef fat. Perpetual inflammation caused by lots of insulin in your blood, too much insulin in your blood. Why do you have too much insulin? Because you're eating bread, you're eating biscuits, you're eating sugar. You're drinking soft drinks, you're drinking Coca-Cola, you're drinking Sprite, you're drinking other soft drinks, you're drinking beer. Beer is a syrup full of sugars. You're drinking a syrup, and your blood insulin level goes high, very high. So what causes heart disease? Number one, the most important thing, metabolic syndrome. Too much insulin in your blood. That is the cause of heart disease in the world. That is the cause of, and it is the number one killer in the world. Why? Because everybody is eating processed carbohydrates for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and in between. The second cause, anything that can injure your endothelium. But if the first cause is not there, if you are not eating processed carbohydrates, if you're not eating sugar, and you do not have high levels of insulin in your blood, then all these other points that can injure endothelium are not that important. The body can repair the injury. But as long as you have high levels of insulin and metabolic syndrome, any injury, and there are hundreds of different points that can injure our endothelium, any injury will cause heart disease and cause atherosclerosis in your body. And you can read all these injuries, you can read all these points that can cause injury, and there's lots and lots of them. Any chemical in the environment, any infection, if you have a root canal in your teeth, that will be a source of chronic infection. If you have chronic cystitis or chronic gastritis or any other chronic infection in your body, those infectious microbes will be in your blood and they will be injuring your endothelium. And processed foods, pharmaceuticals, you name it, all sorts of things. So what do we do? What should we do? If you don't want heart disease, avoid processed carbohydrates. This is the list where processed carbohydrates are contained. They are already processed, highly processed in the factory, so they're pre-digested. Your digestive system doesn't have to do much work to break these things apart. They absorb very fast and they dump enormous amount of sugar into your blood. High blood sugar level is very dangerous, extremely dangerous. When you've eaten that toast for breakfast with marmalade and had a coffee with a few spoonfuls of sugar in it as well, and had an orange juice on top or something else sweet on top and a croissant on top or something else like that, or breakfast cereal, God forbid. These are the most unhealthy things you can start your day from, a breakfast cereal. Then you've dumped enormous amount of glucose into your bloodstream. What does the body do in this situation? It's a shock situation. It's a dangerous situation. It's a great stress for your body to have high blood sugar level. The body pumps uncontrolled amounts of insulin to deal with all that sugar. So you start your day with a high level of insulin in your blood. What does it mean? It means your body will be in a pro-inflammatory state. Inflammation will begin in various organs, and it will not be able to stop. And inflammation is the background now for all kinds of chronic illnesses in the world, not just heart disease, not just atherosclerosis. So these are the foods that you want to avoid. So what foods do we recommend to prevent heart disease and prevent cancer and prevent all other chronic illnesses? So these are the foods we want to eat. And we want to cook them at home, and we want to cook our own meals at home. I know for many young people in particular in the Western world, this is an anathema. They don't want to hear about this. They don't want to cook. They want to go out. They want to eat out. If you're eating out, then you're trusting other people to cook your meals for you. You will be eating large amounts of processed vegetable oils, which cause every disease, and lots of other things, which are not good for you. There is no avoiding the fact that the only way to be healthy in this world is to cook at home from fresh ingredients. Buy all your foods in the form that Mother Nature makes it and cook at home. So we want all meats cooked from fresh fish, organ meats, good quality eggs, fresh vegetables, fresh fruit, nuts and seeds, fermented dairy, and honey, dried fruit. These are the sweet things that we can eat. They're healthy for us and they're sweet instead of sugar. And whole grains in moderation if you can digest them. If your digestive system is strong and you can handle grains, and beans and pulses properly processed at home. We want to eat natural fats, and these are the good fats to eat. All the animal fats. They are the healthiest fats for us to eat. And majority of all your fat consumption should be animal fats, not plant oils. We want to cook with these fats. Clarified butter, ghee, is wonderful to cook with and to add to your meals. We can use coconut oil and we can use the palm oil as well. Virgin olive oil is wonderful, but its value is not in the monounsaturated fats, but in its micronutrients, in the green color and the spicy taste, and these are phenols and salicylates and phytonutrients and other substances which cleanse your body on the inside. If you heat it, if you cook on olive oil, you destroy those substances. You just get damaged monounsaturated oleic acid. That's all you get. So cooking on olive oil is a very unhealthy practice. We should use it raw, cold pressed on ready served meals, on our salads and ready served meals. That's healthy, but don't cook with it. Cooking should be done on animal fats, on pork fat, lamb fat, beef fat, ghee, and other fats like that. Vegetable oils can be used in small amounts if they are cold pressed and stored under vacuum conditions and stored in dark glass in a refrigerator. Strictly speaking, we do not need them. We do not have to have them. But if you've invested in something like that, then it needs to be good quality. There should be no rancidity, no oxidation in these oils, and use them in small amounts. Deficiencies in fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K are a major cause of heart disease, and not only heart disease, every chronic disease. And we get these vitamins from eating animal fats, plenty of them, and from eating animal organs, liver in particular. Liver, kidney, heart, lungs, and other organs from the animals are in the traditional cuisine of every culture in the world. If you look at the traditional cuisines, traditional recipes, how people used to cook in your culture for hundreds of years, you will find dishes with these organs. They are far more nourishing than the muscle of the animal. When you say the word meat in the Western world, people see the pure muscle of the animal. In a traditional culture, in a traditional society, when you say the word meat, people don't see pure muscle. They see organs and they see everything. They see the whole animal, every bit of it. So we need to go back to those traditional practices. And it's very important for us to eat liver on a regular basis because it provides the best amounts, and not only liver, but other organs, the best amounts of these fat-soluble vitamins. Avoid all the artificial and processed fats, which are highly advertised and pushed on us by the food industry, by the governments, by the medical industry and other industries, because they're highly profitable. and they cause every disease in the world. They're poisonous. Digestive health is very important for all of us because the majority of toxins coming into the body come from the digestive system. If you have abnormal gut flora, you're not digesting your food well, particularly if your gut lining is damaged, porous and leaky, you'll be absorbing a lot of things which you should not absorb. They will be damaging your endothelium and starting the atherosclerotic process in your endothelium. Large percent of the population in the Western world in particular has damaged gut flora nowadays. Large percent, unfortunately. Without healthy gut flora, food does not get digested and absorbed properly, and we get B vitamin deficiencies. Deficiencies lead to formation of homocysteine, a very damaging molecule, particularly deficiencies in B1, B6, B12, and zinc. They lead to formation of this molecule, and LPA, that's another very damaging molecule that I researched very well. They cause injury to the endothelium and start the atherosclerotic process. These vitamins, B vitamins, come from the activity of your gut flora, largely. If your gut flora is damaged, you had antibiotics, you're buying your food in a supermarket laced with agricultural chemicals. Agricultural chemicals are antibiotics in their nature, broad spectrum antibiotics. If you buy your food in supermarkets, you're eating antibiotics for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We have to stop buying our foods in supermarkets. We have to get out of the cities, find proper organic farmers, and buy our food directly from them. That's the only way to get proper food in the world. Every course of antibiotics must be followed by a course of probiotics and fermented foods, particularly dairy, kefir, yogurt, sour cream. And if you make these fermented products at home, and fermented vegetables as well, if you make them at home, they're much better than the ones you buy. Okay, so to conclude, prevent your heart disease naturally. Stop eating processed foods. Stop polluting your body. And look after your digestive system. As simple as that. And if you listen to any grandmother who understands this and any elder in a traditional society, they will tell you the same thing. This is the book. It will explain everything for you in detail, everything I was talking about today, and it is fully referenced. So if you want to give this book to your doctor or to a scientist or another professional in medicine, then they will find all the references and they will find all the necessary information. But the book is written in a simple language, so a person without medical training can understand it. So please enjoy the book and share it with everybody who you think need to have this information. Thank you for listening. These are my websites where you will find more information. Some of it is translated into Spanish, but for those of you who speak English, you will find a lot of more new information. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Natasha. Wonderful. A really great
Pleasure.
summary. Thank you so much. So I'm going to talk in Spanish and also in English now in parallel. So anyone who wants to ask questions. Okay, now you can stop sharing the screen so we can both see each other and maybe, so I'm going to talk in Spanish. So anyone that wants to come and join us and ask a question. Bueno, muchas gracias a la doctora Natasha y a vosotros por escuchar. Y pues ahora llegó el momento de las preguntas. No sé si queréis encender la cámara y el micrófono o hacerla por el chat, pero nada, me encantaría escuchar alguna pregunta. Y Natasha también. Si hablan inglés, se la pueden hacer en inglés, yo la traduzco o viceversa.
Okay, somebody is going to translate the question for me?
I will be translating.
Okay.
So does anyone want to start or shall I start? Because I have many questions. ¿Sí? Ok. Tengo una pequeña de 20 meses en casa. There's someone that says, I have a little baby of 20 months, and I would like to know if I should, is that the baby, should it is the same as you are saying? She means low in carbs. Entonces alguien está preguntando que tiene una bebé de 20 meses y que si debería alimentarse igual que lo que ha dicho, que es decir, bajo en carbohidratos.
Absolutely. It is very sad to see in our
Absolutamente, sí.
yes, it is very sad to see in our modern world that
Es
small
muy
children are given
triste
sweets
que los niños les dan muchas chuches, muchos dulces,
and breakfast cereals
y les dan cereales para el desayuno
and lots of other processed carbohydrates.
y muchos alimentos procesados, muchos carbohidratos procesados.
And in South Americas and
Y en
in Mexico,
Sudamérica
I've observed that people give
he
Coca-Cola to
observado,
their small
he
children.
observado que los niños comen Coca-Cola, toman Coca-Cola a los niños pequeños.
I've seen babies having Coca-Cola from a bottle.
He visto bebés tomando Coca-Cola de una botella.
You are laying the ground
Tú
for
estás
obesity
sentando las bases
in these children because
en
they will
estos
be
niños.
overproducing, you're overloading the body
Van,
of the child with glucose.
están sobreproduciendo glucosa
And as a result, the child will be producing too much insulin.
y como un resultado producirá mucha insulina.
Insulin,
Y la
apart from
insulina,
causing chronic inflammation,
además de
insulin
causar,
causes obesity.
además de causar inflamación crónica, causa obesidad.
It is the cause of obesity epidemic in the world, insulin.
Es la causa de la epidemia de obesidad en el mundo.
Having too much insulin in your blood is a very, very dangerous thing.
Tener demasiada insulina en sangre es demasiado peligroso.
On top of that, if you have too much insulin, all the hormones in the body will be abnormal.
Y si tienes demasiada insulina en el cuerpo, en sangre, vas a tener todas tus hormonas completamente desequilibradas.
So it is very important for the parents to understand not to overload their children's bodies with carbohydrates.
Y es muy importante que los padres entiendan que no deben sobrecargar el cuerpo de sus niños de alimentos de carbohidratos procesados.
Give your children eggs and bacon and fish
Dale a tus hijos pescado, huevos, bacon,
with
tocineta,
plenty of fat.
con mucha grasa.
And give them soup for lunch. Give them
Y,
proper
y
meal, meat and vegetables.
denle sopa, carne, vegetales, verduras.
And the same for dinner.
Y lo mismo para la cena.
Between breakfast, lunch, and dinner, the child should not be eating anything.
Y entre el desayuno, el almuerzo y la cena, el niño no debería comer nada.
It is not normal for a human being to be snacking all day.
No es normal para los seres humanos estar todo el día snacking, chucheando, bueno, comiendo.
It is important to give a digestive system a break between
Hay
meals.
que darle al sistema digestivo una pausa.
So drinking Coca-Cola all day and eating sweets all day is not healthy and not good for anybody.
Entonces, tomar Coca-Cola y comiendo todo el día, comiendo dulces todo el día, no es sano para nadie.
Do not give these things to your children. Do not develop such habits.
Sí, no podemos incentivar esto en los niños.
And if you develop a proper habit of eating a meal and then having a break between the meals, you will lay a solid ground for your child to be healthy for the rest of his life.
Y si hacemos esto que ya he dicho, ¿no? De comer a sus horas y los alimentos que se deben sin estar snackeando, vas a construir una base muy sólida en la salud una base sólida y de hábitos muy importante en tu hijo.
And your child will behave properly and will be able to learn and have clear vision and clear mind.
Y tu niño podrá aprender apropiadamente y tendrá una mente clara.
Children who are given breakfast cereals and sugar, and sweet, and carbohydrates, they're hyperactive and they can't focus and can't behave and can't learn.
Los niños a los que les damos cereales en la mañana y alimentos cargados de alto contenido de azúcares no son hiperactivos y no se pueden comportar, están más descontrolados
They don't do well at school, these
y
children,
no les va bien en el colegio.
because having high levels of insulin and sugar in your blood reduces your intelligence and doesn't allow you to learn.
Porque tener un alto contenido de insulina en sangre no te ayuda a aprender y por lo tanto no van bien en el colegio.
Okay.
Ok. Noris quiere preguntar, pero ¿quieren hablar o?
Sí,
Una
¿puedo,
vez,
puedo
no,
hablar?
nomás,
Sí.
pero-
Sí, Noris, sí, claro.
Hola, muchas gracias por el tiempo y la disponibilidad.
Hola, sí, claro.
Sí, mi pregunta estaba relacionada que hace poco de un doctor que también es muy afín con la dieta desinflamatoria estilo del GAPS. Él comentaba que consumir carne de animales que no han sido alimentados como de libre pastoreo, o sea, consumir esa carne es proinflamatoria porque tiene alto contenido en omega 6,
Okay.
mientras que la carne de animales alimentados en libre pastoreo es rica en omega 3, por lo tanto es desinflamatoria.
Okay.
Quería
Okay.
saber si esto es así
Vale,
de
vale. Menos
profundo.
mal que me la escribiste, pero sí,
Sí,
perfecto. Well, she's asking that a doctor told her that eating grass-fed beef it's high in omega 3s. So eating this kind of meat is it lessens down your inflammation, but eating beef that is not grass-fed is high in omega 6, and that means that that meat is pro-inflammatory. So she wants to know your thoughts on grass-fed and omega 6 and omega 3s and inflammation.
Well, that's what the propaganda tells the doctors.
Eso es lo que la propaganda le dice a los médicos.
You know, the world is not black and white.
El mundo no es blanco y negro
There are lots and lots of other colors in between.
y hay muchos colores en la mitad.
There is a big difference between a piece of meat and a piece of bread.
Hay mucha diferencia entre un pedazo de carne y pan, y un pedazo de pan.
But there isn't big difference between one piece of meat and another piece of meat.
Y hay una diferencia entre un pedazo de carne y otro pedazo de carne.
Of course, it's best to buy meat from a grass-fed, organic, natural, you know, an organic pasture. Of course, it's the best. But if you cannot access that and you cannot find that, any meat is better than breakfast cereal.
Por supuesto que es mejor comer carne de vacas pastoreadas, ¿no? Orgánicas, ecológicas, sin pesticidas y todo esto, pero si no tienes acceso a esta carne, es mucho mejor comer carne que cereales del desayuno.
And problem is that in the Western world, the grass-fed has become a big lie.
Y el problema también que está pasando en el mundo occidental es que el ganado de pasto es una gran mentira.
They keep animals in a prison, in a factory. They
Muchas
grow grass
veces
in the field, they bring the grass into that prison and they feed the animals with that grass, and they're allowed to call that meat grass-fed.
lo que hacen es que están confinadas, traen el pasto a donde están confinadas, toman ese pasto y bueno, y eso llaman carne de pasto.
And to sell that kind of lie in supermarkets to people, they've created this whole theory about omega-3, omega-6, and
Y
that
para
it's
poder vender esa carne en los supermercados han creado todas estas teorías sobre los omega 3 y los omega 6.
if you know where that cow was grazing, if you really truly know that this beef and these animals have been on pasture under the sunlight, under the rain, eating real grasses, then that's a proper grass-fed, and of course that's the best.
Por supuesto, si tú sabes de dónde viene la carne, si tú has visto que estos animales están pastando, que están comiendo pasto de verdad y que conoces a ese granjero que está trabajando con ellas y el animal está bien, pues esa es la mejor carne que puedes comer.
But if you're paying lots of money in a supermarket for a label saying grass-fed, you're buying a lie.
Pero si estás pagando en un supermercado muchísimo dinero por una etiqueta que dice carne de pasto, estás pagando por una mentira.
Okay.
Ok. Entonces, Annette, no sé si quieres hablar.
Saludos.
Hola.
Sí, hola,
Ok.
hola, rapidito.
Hola.
Muchas gracias. Antes de que traduzcas a Natasha, Ana y todo el equipo de trabajo, nosotros somos los coanfitriones del podcast en español de la Fundación Weston A. Price y
Ay,
estaban
Annette.
deseosos de
Claro, qué bien
conocerlos, aunque sea
conocerte.
así.
Sí, total. Me encanta vuestro podcast. Bueno, me encanta la Weston Price. Todo lo que hace
Le
la Weston
admiramos mucho
Price.
también todo el trabajo que
Sí.
hace la editorial.
Ay,
Perfecto,
gracias.
estaba diciendo justo lo mismo, parece que hay un poco de delay. Bueno, nada, mis felicitaciones, estaremos en contacto con ustedes pronto porque tenemos varias ideas para el podcast, pero a Natasha también, excelente información, la he escuchado tantas veces y como quiera sigo aprendiendo cada vez que la escucho y quería preguntarle si podía abundar un poco acerca del tema que trajo de las sales biliares conectado al colesterol por la importancia de la flora intestinal que ya ha mencionado en otros momentos y quiero ver cómo ella lo conecta con el tema del colesterol. Gracias.
Okay. Well, Annette, she runs the Wise Tradition podcast in Spanish, and she's from Puerto Rico. And she have heard you many, many, many times, and she always learns something new. And she wants to know, the relationship in between bile salts, I mean the bile, and the cholesterol.
Well, cholesterol is a very important structural part of the bile.
El colesterol es es muy importante, una estructura muy importante de las sales biliares.
There is no bile without cholesterol.
Y no hay sales biliares sin colesterol.
And bile is essential for us to digest fats,
Y es la única forma que tenemos para digerir las grasas.
and to absorb fats, and most importantly, fat-soluble vitamins.
Y no solamente para digerirlas, sino para absorberlas y para poder absorber y procesar sus vitaminas.
And as I said in this lecture, after the bile salts and bile has done its job, most of cholesterol from it is reabsorbed and returned back into the liver.
Y una vez que las sales biliares hacen su trabajo, la mayoría del colesterol vuelve de nuevo al hígado.
That's how valuable cholesterol is for the
Y-
human body.
Y eso es lo imprescindible o el valor que tiene el colesterol para nosotros. Ok, Annette, ¿algo más que quieras desarrollar ahí? Vale. Ana. Ana Blanco.
Ella también escribió su pregunta en el chat.
Ah, ¿la
pero
escribió?
no sé si quiere hablar.
Hola, sí,
Vale, Ana.
sí, escribí la pregunta en el chat. Y
Ujú.
bueno, antes también os quería dar las gracias por la magnífica presentación. He aprendido muchísimo. Gracias.
Qué bueno. Gracias a
Y
ti.
bueno, pregunté sobre el tema porque creo que la doctora recomienda los fermentados, pero si una persona tiene SIBO, no sé cómo ella recomienda lidiar con este tema. No sé si puede dar
Ok,
alguna
sí.
recomendación. Gracias.
Yeah, she's thanking you, and also she wants to know if you have any recommendation or what do you think about fermented food and SIBO?
SIBO is population of abnormal gut flora in the intestines.
El SIBO es sobre crecimiento bacteriano en los intestinos.
It's not just bacteria, the basis of that overgrowth are fungi.
Que no es solamente bacteria, que la base son hongos,
The basis of any microbial community in nature are fungi.
que la base de cualquier comunidad microbial son hongos.
So people have an overgrowth of fungi and bacteria and viruses and all sorts of other creatures in their intestines with SIBO.
Entonces tienen un sobrecrecimiento de bacterias, de virus, de hongos y todo tipo de criaturas.
In order to get rid of this problem, we need to follow the GAPS diet.
Para poder eliminar este problema necesitamos hacer la dieta GAPS.
And at some point, we need to go through the GAPS introduction diet.
Y en algún momento hay que hacer la dieta de introducción.
And part of that diet are fermented foods,
Y parte de la dieta son los alimentos fermentados.
because fermented foods provide beneficial microbes and enzymes and all sorts of other good things.
Porque los alimentos fermentados lo que hacen es proveerte de microbios beneficiosos, así como de enzimas digestivas, que hacen todo tipo de cosas.
We use dairy fermented products, kefir, yogurt,
Sí, usan kefir, yogur
and we use
Yogur.
fermented vegetables.
y verduras fermentadas.
Okay.
Sí.
Carmen.
Carmen. Carmen, ¿quieres hacer la pregunta tú o...? No sé cuál es la pregunta, Andrea.
No, no la ha dicho, había levantado la mano, pero no sé si ya.
Pues no sé.
Vale, y tenemos dos preguntas en el chat de
Ujú.
Vanessa.
Ok.
Para que la puedas leer.
De Uni. Ajá. So there's someone in the chat that says, I have a child with autism, and 4 years ago, we started the protocol, and a year ago we did the ADOS test. I don't know if you know, ADOS test. And he was technically completely out of diagnostic. But since his adolescence, he has gone backwards a little bit. Do you think we need to go back to the introduction diet, or do you have any recommendation?
Absolutely. So he's done very well, this child.
Sí, totalmente, sobre todo que le ha ido muy bien a este niño.
Well done and congratulations.
Y muchísimas felicitaciones por lo que lograste.
For as long as your child is under your authority and you have some power over your child, keep him on the GAPS diet.
Por el tiempo en que tu hijo esté bajo en tu casa y tú cocines para él, lo ideal es que siga con la dieta GAPS.
And if he's regressed a little bit, I will put him through the introduction diet again. And after that, keep him on the full GAPS diet permanently.
Y bueno, y si dices que ha retrocedido un poco, pues sí, haría la dieta de introducción y luego lo mantendría en la dieta GAPS.
Being a teenager, of course he will cheat.
Y claro, y siendo un adolescente, va a hacer trampa.
Of course he will eat things that he should not eat when he's not at home.
Y por supuesto que va a comer cosas que no debe cuando no está en casa.
But at least if at home you keep the diet strict, 80% of what he's eating will be good.
Pero si al menos en la casa, él come los alimentos que debe comer, el 80% de su dieta va a ser buena.
So you will help him to survive the teenage years, adolescence, and not regress.
Y lo vas a ayudar a sobrevivir su adolescencia y no regresar, o sea, no ir hacia atrás.
And I would teach him to cook at home, GAPS meals, GAPS recipes.
Y le enseñaría a cocinar recetas GAPS.
So when he's grown up and when he's an adult, he will be able to be independent and to cook for himself.
Y así cuando sea un adulto y sea independiente, puede cocinarse. Así mismo.
Many young people go through a period when the students in particular, when they're busy with their social life, when they eat all sorts of things.
Que los adolescentes pasan por un periodo de tiempo donde comen todo tipo de cosas.
And they will get symptoms when they eat bad foods and they
Y-
will suffer.
y van a tener síntomas y van a sufrir cuando comen cosas malas.
And at certain point, they will understand that they have to eat properly and they have to cook for themselves. So if you teach them the recipes, if you teach them how to cook, you will give them great tools.
Y ellos mismos van a darse cuenta que hay ciertas cosas que les caen mal. Entonces, si tú los enseñas a cocinar, va a ser una herramienta muy importante para el resto de su vida.
Vale. Alma también pregunta.
Ah,
Está justo
Alma, ok. Bueno, so she says that you say that high cholesterol is good, but she was, how you say it, prescribed statins because she had her LDL in 297 and also HDL was very high. I am a woman of 61 years, and is this LDL number? Should I take the statins because of this, of my high LDL and high HDL?
Absolutely not.
Absolutamente no.
There is no situation that when anybody needs to take statins.
No hay ninguna situación en la que debamos tomar estatinas.
You are laying the ground for developing Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's.
Estás sentando las bases de Alzheimer y Parkinson.
The fact that your cholesterol is high, both LDL and HDL, means that your body is dealing with some kind of problem.
El hecho de que tu colesterol, tanto el LDL como HDL, está alto, es que tu cuerpo está lidiando con algún tipo de problemática.
Maybe there is a chronic infection in your body.
Quizás hay una inflamación crónica.
Possibly you've got a root canal in your tooth.
Quizás tienes un tratamiento de conducto, una endodoncia.
Or maybe you have chronic cystitis, or maybe you have
O
chronic
tienes
arthritis.
o cistitis crónica o alguna enfermedad crónica.
In that situation, your immune system will be active and it needs both LDL and HDL high.
Y en esa situación, tu sistema inmune está activo y necesita tanto el LDL como el HDL alto.
It is possible that you were going through some stressful time in your life.
O quizás estás pasando por un momento muy estresante en tu vida.
And when we are under stress, under pressure, we need lots and lots of stress hormones to cope.
Y cuando estamos en una situación de estrés, necesitamos muchas hormonas que nos ayuden a lidiar con este estrés.
And in that situation, your blood cholesterol will be high.
Y en esa situación, tu colesterol sube.
And it's good for you and you need it.
Y es bueno para ti y lo necesitas.
So at any point in your life, whatever your blood cholesterol is, it's the right level for you. Your body's doing something.
Y en cualquier momento de tu vida, cualquier número de colesterol que tengas, ese es el colesterol apropiado para ti.
That is why I recommend to people to stop testing.
Por eso recomienda a las personas a que no hagan exámenes de sangre, que no se hagan analíticas.
Don't allow the doctors to do this to you.
No le permitan al médico que haga esto.
They're only testing cholesterol because they want to sell you statins.
La única razón por la cual quieren hacerte el test del colesterol es para darte estatinas.
If you really want to know what your risk of heart disease is, ask them to test for insulin in your blood.
Si quieres realmente saber cuál es tu probabilidades de las enfermedades cardiovasculares, dile que te hagan un test de la insulina, que te hagan una analítica de insulina.
And you can also ask them to test for inflammatory markers in your blood.
Y también por marcadores inflamatorios en sangre.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Tenemos 5 preguntas.
Okay. Sí. ¿Y ya? Sí.
Luciana.
Ya nos hemos sobrepasado del tiempo. We are over time, but we are gonna have 5 more questions. That's okay with you, Natasha?
Yeah, that's fine with me as long as Zoom
Okay.
allows. As long as they don't cut us off.
Okay.
Luciana sería la siguiente.
Luciana, okay. Well, thank you so much for your talk. Is probiotics, do they survive the acidity of the stomach?
They do.
Sí,
They do.
sí sobreviven.
Yes, particularly when you take them with food.
Sobre todo cuando los tomas con comida.
And stomach is not always acidic.
Y el estómago no siempre está ácido.
The acid production in your stomach goes through a daily cycle.
La producción de ácidos en el estómago pasan por un ciclo diario
And most of the day it's not that high.
y muchas veces no está tan alto.
Just take your probiotics with food and don't worry about it.
Toma tus probióticos con tu comida y no te preocupes por eso. Ok. Mónica, doctora, ¿nos puede dar alguna recomendación sobre la dieta reseteo en personas con histaminas altas? She wants to know any diet recommendation for people who have high histamine.
I have a big chapter on histamine in the blue book, which Anna is translating.
No, it's already translated. It's just we are in layout process.
Okay.
Tiene un capítulo muy importante en el libro azul, que ya lo hemos traducido y lo vamos a publicar en octubre.
That's good. Histamine is part and parcel of the die-off reaction that everybody has to go through.
Las histaminas es una reacción de lo que llamamos la crisis curativa, por la cual todas las personas tienen que pasar cuando hacemos la dieta.
The dying pathogenic microbes in your digestive system produce amines.
Los microbios que mueren en el tracto digestivo producen aminas, no sé.
And histamine is the most researched one amongst these amines, but there are hundreds of others.
Y histamina es la más investigada, pero hay cientos de más.
So, majority of people just have to go through it.
Y la mayoría de las personas tienen que ir.
You can control it by gradual introduction of fermented foods.
Y la puedes controlar introduciendo gradualmente los alimentos fermentados, poquito a poco.
And also, if your symptoms are very severe, then of course you need to reduce foods which have high levels of histamine.
Y si tus síntomas son muy severos, tienes que reducir los alimentos que tienen altas histaminas.
But if the symptoms are not so severe, then just survive it, go through it.
Y si los síntomas no son tan severos, pásalo, o sea, pasa por ese momento, o sea, sigue tu dieta y lo que estás haciendo.
The GAPS diet will heal your digestive system and normalize your gut flora.
La dieta GAPS sanará tu sistema digestivo y equilibrará tu flora.
And histamine problems will disappear.
Y los problemas de histamina desaparecerán.
Okay.
Okay. She also has problems with his teenager. It's difficult for her, but she is very firm at home. He had TDAH, HDAD, and she knows that at school he's eating inappropriate food.
Yes. Well, try to speak to your child and motivate him not to do that.
Okay. Then podría comentar cómo llevar alimentación complementaria en bebés con sensibilidad intestinal, 7 meses, aún lactando. Well, this is another person who has a baby, 7 months, and has intestinal sensibility, and he's on breast milk, but she wants to know how to start introducing food.
Well, before we talk about the baby, let's finish with the hyperactive teenager.
Oh, okay. Ok, que antes de empezar
So,
con el bebé, voy a hablar de el adolescente hiperactivo.
make sure that every meal that he eats, particularly breakfast at home, is high fat.
Tienes que asegurarte que el desayuno tiene muchísimas grasas, que la comida que come en casa, sobre todo la del desayuno, tenga una gran cantidad de grasas.
If you give him proper breakfast, eggs, bacon, jamon, oily fish, and lots of butter and lots of fat, you will start his day from the right platform.
Si le das bacon, tocineta, huevos, mantequilla, jamón, pescado con alto contenido de grasas, estarás dándole la base de un buen comienzo del día.
He will go to school and he'll be able to focus and he will behave normally and he will not be hyperactive as long as he's had lots of fat.
Sí. Irá a la escuela y no estará hiperactivo, podrá concentrarse porque las grasas lo van a ayudar a concentrarse.
Until, of course, he eats something inappropriate at school, but at least at the first half of the day, he will be functioning.
Claro, eso hasta que coma algo inapropiado en el colegio, pero por lo menos el comienzo, la mitad del día, él estará funcionando perfectamente.
But if he had lots of fat for breakfast, he will not be hungry for anything sweet, any
Y adem-
carbohydrates.
Claro, y además, si tú le das muchas grasas para el desayuno, luego no va a tener hambre de comer ningún tipo de dulce, ni ningún tipo de carbohidrato,
Because the satisfaction from food always comes from the fat content of our meal.
porque la satisfacción a la hora de comer siempre viene del contenido de grasa que en nuestra comida.
He will be well nourished and well satisfied by his breakfast. He will not be hungry for a long time. I will not be looking for any sweets or anything else like that.
Y estará bien alimentado y saciado, por lo tanto no estará buscando ningún tipo de dulce ni nada, porque no va a tener hambre.
Okay, so now let's move to the baby.
Okay. Well, the baby is 7 months and has intestinal sensibility and is breastfeeding. And she wants to know how she should start complementary, food. The introduction of
6
food.
months.
7.
7 months. Well, in my yellow book, part 4 describes how to introduce food to a baby.
Okay, en el libro amarillo, el síndrome GAPS, el síndrome psicointestinal, en la parte 4, tiene un capítulo de cómo alimentar a los bebés.
And if the
Muy
mother
interesante.
continues breastfeeding, she should change her diet.
Y si la madre está dando lactancia, alimentándole a base de pecho, debería ella cambiar su dieta.
She needs to go on the full GAPS diet herself and continue
Ella
breastfeeding.
necesita hacer la dieta GAPS.
Okay.
Okay. Y luego,
El mensaje siguiente.
okay. Well, thank you so much for this amazing time with you. My son is 3 years old. He's neurotypical child with rhinitis after adenoid surgery, issues of restless sleep, with past exams with parasites. Right now, he will put a circuit breaker in his mouth on the palate to expand the upper jaw with his orthopediatrics. Also, he has a little anemia, even though he eats a lot of meat and organs and follows GAPS. What recommendation you can give me? Shall I translate in Spanish so that people know what's already there? Mi hijo tiene 3 años, es un niño con rhinitis y tuvo una cirugía de las adenoides. Tiene un sueño, es como hiperactivo y ha tenido parásitos. Ahora le están poniendo como una especie de aparato o de algo en la boca, en su paladar, para poder expandir su paladar, y tiene un poco de anemia, aunque está tomando carne y vísceras y hace la dieta GAPS y que si tiene alguna recomendación. Okay.
Well, I'm glad that the dentist is working on expanding his palate.
Estoy muy contenta de que el dentista está expandiendo su paladar.
Many children in the modern world are born with narrow faces, narrow nasal passages,
En el mundo moderno, la mayoría de los niños nacen con un paladar muy angosto, con caras muy angostas, con unas vías nasales angostas.
and the upper jaw is quite often too small, so the teeth don't fit.
Y la mayoría de las veces la mandíbula superior es muy pequeña y los dientes no caben.
The reason for these problems in children is the fact that women stopped eating liver during pregnancy.
La mayoría de los problemas de estos niños es que las mujeres no comían hígado durante su embarazo.
It was a traditional duty of every pregnant woman in every traditional society around the world to eat a piece of liver during pregnancy every day.
Ha sido una tradición universal de tradiciones, o sea, una tradición en todas las culturas de comer, que cuando estás embarazada comes sí un poco de hígado todos los días.
Because the liver provides the right nutrition, vitamin A in particular, for the bone structure of the face of the baby to develop properly.
Porque el hígado tiene sobre todo vitamina A, que es lo que ayuda a que el niño desarrolle una estructura ósea de la cara apropiada.
And since women stopped eating liver during pregnancy, in many children, these bones don't develop properly.
Y como la mayoría de las mujeres dejaron de comer hígado durante el embarazo, pues estos huesos no se desarrollan apropiadamente.
So we have children with narrow nasal passages, so their mouth breathes.
Y entonces tenemos niños que tienen las vías respiratorias muy angostas y por lo tanto respiran por la boca.
And narrow faces and small mandibulars, so the teeth don't fit in.
Entonces también tienen una cara angosta y mandíbulas angostas donde los dientes no caben.
And modern holistic dentists understand now all of this, and they, instead of removing some teeth and making the face even more narrow, now they try to do operations to expand.
Y los dentistas hoy en día se han dado cuenta de que en vez de quitar dientes y hacer que la cara se ponga aún más angosta, lo que están haciendo es operar o hacer cosas para que ese paladar se expanda aún más.
To deal with rhinitis, I would recommend rinsing the nose with salty water, warm salty water.
Para la rinitis, yo recomendaría hacer baños de agua con sal, agua templada. Do you mean the nasal?
That's right, in the nose, yeah.
Sí, hacerlo como lo hacen en la India, que es, ¿cómo es que se llama, Andrea? Es como una teterita, el neti, exactamente.
Neti, that's right. And between meals, after every meal, when the child has finished eating and not going to eat for a couple of hours, open a capsule of a good probiotic on the tongue of the child.
Y después de comer, puedes abrirle una cápsula de probióticos al bebé y se la pones en la lengua.
And last time before bed, when the child's going to bed, open a capsule on the tongue.
Y antes de irse a dormir, ábrele otra cápsula al niño en la boca.
Instead of a commercial probiotic, you can use homemade kefir.
Y en vez de un probiótico comercial, puedes darle un poco de kefir hecho en casa.
So if a child finishes every meal with kefir, so that's the last thing left in the mouth, and
Entonces,
at night as well.
Entonces, si el niño termina todas sus comidas con un poco de kefir en la boca, en la noche o en el día,
So between meals and at night, the microbial community of kefir or a probiotic will populate the throat and will travel up and will clear any infections and any problems and heal.
y entonces la comunidad de probióticos que hay tanto en el kefir como en la pastilla que le vas a poner después de comer, y al no comer nada después, esa comunidad va a ir viajando por todo el sistema y va a ayudar a sanar toda la vía respiratoria.
Continue feeding the liver and other animal foods to the child.
Y hay que darle a hígado y otros alimentos de animales al niño.
A lot of cases of anemia are caused by toxicity,
Muchas veces los casos de anemia son por toxicidad
particularly toxic metals.
y particularmente metales pesados.
And many children are born with a high toxic load, which they acquired from the mother during pregnancy.
Y muchos niños, muchos bebés nacen con una carga tóxica muy elevada que la adquieren de la madre.
If the mother had amalgam fillings in her teeth, mercury amalgam fillings, or was exposed to other toxins before pregnancy or during pregnancy, these things accumulate in the baby, in the fetus.
Y si la madre tiene amalgamas o ha estado en contacto con algunas toxinas ambientales, tanto antes como durante el embarazo, eso pasará al feto.
So the mercury and other toxins in the baby's body, they kill blood cells and they cause anemia.
Entonces, estas toxinas matan las células del sangre y causan anemia.
So continue eating liver, continue on the GAPS diet because you're adding lots and lots of iron and lots of B vitamins to deal with that anemia.
Entonces, que haga la dieta GAPS, que coma mucho hígado, y con la dieta GAPS tendrás las vitaminas B y el hierro necesario para combatir la anemia.
Eventually, the child's body will cleanse, remove all those toxins, and anemia will disappear.
Eventualmente el niño se limpiará, o sea, eliminará estas toxinas y la anemia desaparecerá.
Okay.
Ok.
Sí, Paula.
Paula.
Habla justo después.
Ah, ok. Natasha, qué placer verte y oírte. Mi hijo salió de diagnóstico autismo gracias a vos. No me alcanzará la vida para agradecerte. Hace 4 años que llevamos CAPS, te consulto por café orgánico y cacao orgánico cada tanto. ¿Es posible? Los frutos secos, pese al tiempo transcurrido, le siguen cayendo mal. ¿Por qué será? Gracias, Ana, y a la editorial. Okay, Natasha, it's a pleasure to see and hear you. My son, who had autism diagnostic, was able to receive thanks to you. So he's not autistic anymore. That she will not have I mean, her life will not extend as long as she would like to. Thank you for that. So she has, for 4 years, he's doing GAPS, and she wants to know about organic coffee and organic cocoa, chocolate, every now and then. Is it possible? And the other thing is that she's been trying to give him nuts, but even though it has 4 years now since he started, still they are not, they don't feel good for him. Do you know why?
Well, if the digestive symptoms are gone and he is well and he's doing well, then you can try to introduce some natural cacao and to make some desserts with it, natural cacao powder. Coffee, I'm not sure whether, a child needs coffee.
Si su sistema digestivo está bien y está progresando, pues podrías hacer algún dulce con polvo de cacao orgánico y ver qué tal, ¿no? Pero si es un niño, no entiende por qué quieres darle café.
It's better not to introduce it for a child because coffee knocks you out of balance.
Es
And
mejor no
inevitably, as you swing to one side, you will swing back to another.
Ok, sí, el café es mejor no introducírselo a un niño porque lo que hace es, es un estimulante, entonces te va a llevar de un lado al otro.
So it is better not to get a habit of eating it, A human being doesn't need coffee.
Y
particularly
el ser
children.
humano no necesita café y es mejor si puedes quitarle, no hacer de esto un hábito.
With nuts, nuts are very fibrous, so they're difficult to digest.
Las nueces, o sea, los frutos secos son muy fibrosos y son muy difíciles de digerir.
On top of that, nuts contain a lot of lectins and other anti-nutrients which damage the digestive system, and not only the digestive system, but connective tissue in the body.
Sí, los frutos secos tienen muchas lectinas y otros antinutrientes que dañan el sistema digestivo, así como otros tejidos conectivos.
And for boys as well, nuts are very rich in an amino acid arginine.
Especialmente en los niños, las nueces tienen un aminoácido, son muy ricas en arginina.
And arginine impairs the functions of zinc in the body, and boys do need zinc.
La arginina lo que hace es que no hace que se absorba el zinc o hace que el zinc no esté disponible. Por lo tanto, y los niños necesitan mucho zinc.
So the child's digestive system needs to heal well before the nuts are well tolerated.
Entonces, el sistema digestivo del niño tiene que sanar apropiadamente, estar completamente bien para poder introducir los frutos secos.
And even then, nuts need to be used only occasionally.
Y incluso entonces, los frutos secos solamente deben ser usados ocasionalmente.
And the same with cacao, with cocoa, it needs to be used occasionally.
Y igual que con el cacao, ocasionalmente.
We can live without nuts and cacao perfectly well. We don't need them, strictly speaking.
Podemos vivir sin el cacao y sin los frutos secos, no los necesitamos.
I know they're nice to have, particularly for people in Latin America.
Sí, y que sabe que es muy rico tenerlo, tomarlo y especialmente para las personas en Latinoamérica.
Children who recover from autism need to focus on animal foods, meats, fats, eggs, fermented dairy.
Los niños que se recuperan de autismo necesitan tomar carne, grasas animales, lácteos, huevos.
Huevos, and add a few vegetables, and your diet is fine. You don't
Y
need
algunos
anything.
vegetales y tu dieta está perfecta. No necesitas más nada.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, I think we done a lot. Thank you so much, Natasha. Creo que
My
hemos hecho
pleasure.
muchísimo. Espero que las dudas las hayamos resuelto. Compren el libro, recomiéndenlo. Y bueno, pronto tendremos el próximo, pero bueno, ahora estamos con este. Disfrútenlo. Y nada, cualquier otra pregunta en cualquier otro momento nos pueden escribir a info@editorial Diente de León. Y muchísimas gracias por habernos acompañado. Thank you so much, Natasha.
I
It's a
wish
pleasure.
everybody good health and happiness, and thank you, Anna, for organizing this event.
Thank you.
Translating the book.
Sí. Ok, bueno. Ok. Chao.
Thank you. Ciao.
Adiós. Chao.